What's up YouTube and Facebook? Blue Dooley out in the garage, and today we're going to make a bumper for the CXT. I did a little cardboard, poster board bumper. I cut all my tape so I could flatten it out. And then all I did was trace it on a piece of steel with a Sharpie. And now I'm going to cut it out. Then we'll get to brazing it together. There's a lot of ways you can cut sheet metal. I'm going to throw mine on the bandsaw I have. You can use a Dremel with a cutoff wheel, a hacksaw. That'd probably take forever. If you have some sheet metal shears, you can use those. Those work really well. So you just kind of want to take your time, and my bandsaw makes a ton of racket when you're cutting sheet steel, so I'm not going to film me doing that. But the round edges are a little harder with a bandsaw, so I'll probably have to come in with the Dremel and get those little bit of curves in. But everything else should be pretty straightforward. So I'll see you as soon as I get this cut. And now we have our bumper cut out. Need to smooth up some of my edges a little bit with the grinder. But to get the curves, I did switch to the Dremel with a cutoff wheel, and I nicked it a little bit with the bandsaw right there. I'm not sure if it'll focus on it or not. But for curves, depending on how big the diameter of your cutting edge is will kind of determine how much of a radius you can get. If you have a smaller cutoff wheel, you can get a little tighter radius. What I do is I just run along my Sharpie line. I don't try to cut all the way through. I make several light passes to get that curve in there. And still need to touch it up a little with the grinder. But you just take your time and go slow. Like I said, just take little bites at a time. You're less likely to damage your cutoff wheel and send it flying everywhere. And you can get a little smoother cut. So now that we're done with that, I missed that edge. I'll clean up my edges a little bit and we'll get to bending. Okay, now that I got my edges where I want them to be, a little smoother, I've clamped the sheet metal between two pieces of channel aluminum because I have a small vise. And since the bumper is for 6 scale, it is a little big for this vise. So what I did was put the sheet in as deep where I wanted to bend it, clamped it between these two pieces of channel, and then put a C-clamp out here at the ends for when I fold this part over, it doesn't want to spread these aluminum channel apart. And then pretty much if you want to bend stuff, this is about the easiest way to do it. I'm going to start bending it by hand and then give it a little tap with some of the hammer. Not with some of the hammer, a little smaller hammer, just to get it nice and straight. If you have big hands, this does work pretty well. All right. You might have to tighten it up a little more. Almost got my thumb. All right. kind of over bend it out here. That's all right. Sweet. Like I said, I really clamped this in here good. Alright. Now we have the bend in the bumper. Alright. I got the bottom folded. All I did was put it in the vise and just kind of slowly worked my way down. Just back and forth real slow. Got the bottom curved in. Then all I did was put the end in the vise, fold it over. I had to give my bottom here a little bit of a love tap with the hammer on both ends. That was just kind of where my cut wasn't quite right. Actually, we can put it on the truck right now. There we go. Decided to keep it square on the edges, just for simplicity's sake. That's wheel arch in there. And then I will have to search through all the rod and stuff I have to do the grill guard. I might have to wait until payday to get me some more steel so I can get an appropriate thickness. But yeah, get this front bumper finished, and then it's just some cleanup, and this truck will be good. Alright, so the brazing didn't go as well as expected. Well, actually as I had hoped. The problem is the rod I have is 3/32 diameter brazing rod, and the MAP gas doesn't burn hot enough to melt this thick of a rod. I fiddled with the bumper last weekend, and then it didn't work, so I talked to one of the guys I work with, and he said the only time he had luck with it was with a real thin rod, and then he actually ground it even thinner. Then you can braze with MAP gas. I will show you the one good. I cleaned it up a little bit. It was a lot lumpier and uglier than that. But it's a good solid braze. The light, I don't have a good lighter. I'd show you the inside. You can actually see the heat penetration good and the bronze on the inside. So yeah, I ended up running the brazing rod over the grinder, grinding it real thin, like pencil tip thin almost, and then the MAP gas worked fine. I tried firing up the MIG welder, and if I had different wire in the MIG, it would have done just awesome. I have a little Hobart 110 machine which will weld as thin as 24 gauge sheet metal. This is 22. The flux core wire I'm running in it is only good for down to about 16 gauge. So I might have blown some holes in the bumper. You can see the tank through the holes. Not my finest work. The other side's just as ugly, or uglier. So yeah, I was right trying to braze it. My technique was a little off at first. I burned through most of this tank, so I'll probably have to get another tank to braze up a bumper. This bumper probably isn't salvageable. There's a lot of good steel left to use, so I'm not going to throw it away. I can just cut off these ugly welds and use it for something else. So build a new bumper eventually for this, and if nothing else, hit like for me being, able to admit failure and defeat with my terrible, terrible welding. Have a good weekend, and we will catch you later.